Okay, thank you for your patience, everybody. Now we would like to start session 1, Harnessing AI for Innovative Tourism Businesses. And this session will be moderated by Mr. Hannes Thies from the OECD. Please join me in welcoming the moderator, Mr. Hans Thies, to the stage.
Thank you, Deborah. Good morning. So it's a pleasure to welcome you to session 1, which will focus on AI and tourism businesses. So we aiming to explore what AI means for innovation of tourism businesses, but also we will discuss sustainable practices. We will discuss challenges that the businesses are facing or how policymakers can support businesses in their AI adoption. So we are delighted to have a very diverse panel prepared for you, so bringing together many different perspectives on AI in tourism businesses. So hopefully this will then also lead to an interesting discussion for you, and maybe at the end of the day you are motivated to take the next step in your AI journey in your business. But let's start with the structure of the session, so quickly introducing you how we will run the session. So we will break this down into 3 chunks, into 3 parts. So we will kick off with a thought starter presentation to introduce us to the broader questions of AI in tourism businesses. But we have also 5 focused and short presentations coming from different perspectives, so covering OTA, SMEs, and travel tech, transportation as well. And this will be followed by a Q&A session where you also have the possibility to ask your questions. I will introduce you to the system later. So it's important also for us to reflect on the potential of AI in a critical way, and therefore let's get right into it. So let's start with our thought starter of the day for session 1. So joining virtually from the US. So she's professor of intelligent systems in services, dean of Surrey Business School, and fellow of the Survey Institute for People-Centered Artificial Intelligence. So I think that's perfect for our today's session. And I think you can bring her up to the screen. So her current work covers many issues around human and AI teaming, the future of work, digital nudging, and a lot more. So hopefully we can bring her on the screen. Please welcome Professor East Tusadaya to our virtual stage, and let me know if it works.
Hi.
Welcome, East.
Oh,
welcome.
Perfect.
We can hear and see you clearly. You're invited to share your screen, and then we are happy to hear your thoughts, and yeah, happy to have you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I think I'm sharing my screen, so hopefully that will be there.
Is it? Yeah, perfect. We can see your slides.
Perfect.
Okay,
perfect.
Let's go.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me today, and I apologize that I can't be with you in person. I just finished another intense 3-day conference, but hopefully we will be able to have discussions together afterwards. So I'm going to start with a little bit about principles, introducing AI in tourism, and perhaps looking into answering some of the questions related to what are applications of AI that are promising for tourism businesses and SMEs to implement. What are the barriers, the challenges associated with implementing AI in tourism for SMEs especially, and then perhaps a little bit on how we can support or facilitate tourism businesses and SMEs to adopt, implement AI more responsibly. So let me move my screen. There we go. So we've had a lot of discussions already since this morning around how tourism businesses, the tourism industry, and the way that we deliver tourism experiences have evolved very rapidly because of the advancement of AI. I'm currently in Las Vegas, and so many of the attractions here are based on the rate of innovation. So, attractions are changing very fast, and also the experiences offered to tourists are also changing very fast. And most of it are due to advancement in technology. And so a lot of things that I would like to highlight today, I know this is a little bit academic looking, but I would like to highlight 3 different aspects here that I think will be important to highlight the successful implementation of AI for business. One is obviously with the technological progress, and so AI advancing really, really rapidly. We've just heard about DeepSeek not so long ago, and how that then transforms the implementation and the way that we have access to this technology. We are also looking into customer demand and expectation. People are used to using AI at home for different kinds of tasks, and so they also demand tourism businesses and hospitality and the related businesses and industries to also offer experiences where AI will probably integrate it more into their experiences. And then again, one of the aspects I think that we talked a lot about is also the labor shortage issue in tourism and hospitality. And AI, or at least the adoption of AI by businesses, are generally influenced by these 3 drivers, so to speak. And I'm also looking into a lot about how the future of work will change due to AI, and that is change in the sense that roles and tasks are going to evolve, because tasks are going to how can I say this? The way that we complete tasks are going to be different or changed or transformed, but also the expectation of tourism and hospitality professionals in terms of delivering value to tourism industries and also to experiences will also evolve. And so again, academic looking, but basically what I would like to highlight in here is the future of tourism businesses will actually be impacted by a displacement of workers, and so AI will influence will basically replace some of the tasks and then roles and jobs. AI will also influence job design, so how roles and tasks will be developed, and also there will be new jobs and some other aspects related to role flexibility and so on. And these highlight some of the aspects or some of the challenges facing tourism businesses now related to skills, which are which have been highlighted earlier in the morning around skills gap and the requirements for upskilling and also adaptation, for example. We are also looking, for example, on areas related to algorithmic management, how AI now actually are being employed to manage workers, for example, in tourism and hospitality, and how that then impacts a lot of biases and discrimination, for example, issues related to AI implementation. And so just to highlight a little bit around the future of work and AI. So to me, there are always this sort of dilemma around automation versus augmentation, augmenting human intelligence with AI, artificial intelligence. There's also an issue around the need for upskilling and adaptation because of the evolving roles. And also, to me, one of the things that's important in terms of leadership focus is how we prepare tourism workforce for AI-enhanced tourism, and how we can ensure human-centric service remains a priority. So earlier, we've also heard around how tourism is essentially human-centric industry, and that needs to be a priority. So going perhaps a little bit more on how can business leaders integrate AI more responsibly to drive innovation and to ensure that the outcome will be sustainable. So I'd like to introduce a framework. Hopefully this will be useful to guide the implementation of AI in tourism businesses for innovation while maintaining sustainability. And this is called the AI, we call it AIX S leadership model. That is because it's based on 3 pillars and starts with an S and ends with a Y. And so the 3 pillars are synergy, strategy, and sustainability. And so basically, this is the principle to lead the implementation of AI responsibly for tourism businesses and also for small and medium enterprises. So the synergy between human employees and AI drive strategic decisions or strategic solutions that would generate sustainable outcome. So that's basically it. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about these 3 pillars. And so synergy is really about merging human intelligence with AI to enhance innovation and customer experiences. In this case, AI is seen as a catalyst for innovation, and the idea of synergy is based on perhaps you're familiar with the term Moravec's paradox. And so that is basically AI can do a lot of tasks that are difficult for human to do, but humans can do a lot of the tasks that AI find difficult, for example, dexterity. And so on. So basically, the collaborative intelligence in this case is the idea that AI enhances rather than replaces human capabilities. And so the combination of human capabilities, human intelligence, and AI is what can drive innovation. So, for example, and we heard from Vice Minister this morning around AI-powered personalization in itinerary creation. And so, to me, that's an example of how AI can be combined with human creativity that drive dynamic itinerary creation, for example. And that would then hopefully result in improved customer experiences, operational efficiency, and also service innovation. A little bit more about synergy in action, and that is around AI and human collaboration. So that's what we do a lot at SARI, is looking into a human AI teaming. Later on, there will be a lot more concrete examples in terms of tools. But one of the examples I think that tourism businesses can already leverage is how we can use AI-driven sentiment analysis, for example, and interpret this analysis with human emotional intelligence to understand better traveler preferences and feedback. And in terms of synergy in this pillar, the leadership focus is about balancing automation with human service excellence. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is about strategy. So basically, it's around leveraging AI-driven insights for data-informed decision. So in this case, AI's role in business strategy is around analyzing or processing data to understand better market trends, or for businesses to do more informed decisions around pricing, around demand forecasting, and so on. So an example of this, and perhaps many businesses in hospitality and tourism have been implementing revenue management, for example, or yield management, and these systems are increasingly AI powered. One of the things I think that I would like to emphasize here is there is an anecdote that we learned actually a couple of days ago around strategy that is data-driven are inherently looking at the past, right? So data, predictive analytics are based on past data. And so this is where I think in terms of strategy, the synergy pillar still plays a role in this. So for us to have innovation, to innovate, to be future looking, to be more progressive, there needs to be a combination of predictive analytics from AI looking at past data with human foresight. And so intuition, for example, also plays a role in interpreting data-driven decision making, or data or insights for decision making. So and then in terms of how we can look at strategy in action, looking into how we can use AI for competitive advantage, going back for predictive analytics. Now we also use AI-driven chatbots, for example, for customer engagement, for multilingual support. But importantly, it's also around the capacity of automating how we can engage and interact with customers in a more meaningful way by looking at or predicting what kind of questions they're going to ask next, for example, during the conversation. Now, in terms of leadership, I think the focus then needs to be around ensuring how AI aligns with the brand value of the company and enhances human touch points. I mentioned earlier about the importance of foresight with data-driven decision making. Now, lastly, the third pillar is around sustainability, and obviously, it's how we can use AI to promote long-term responsible tourism. So in this case, we know that AI systems have been used, for example, for monitoring and tracking consumptions in terms of energy or reducing waste or optimizing use of resources, minimizing carbon footprints, for example. And again, the pillars of strategy and synergy can actually be integrated in this, in the sense that yes, AI can be used to track and monitor our performance in these areas, but also it's really the leaders and the humans sort of ingenuity, so to speak, looking into responsible tourism and how we can create value for society, for example, and for the environment. So the long-term impact in this case is around sustainable growth and how we can use AI also to improve the company's reputation as a sustainable and responsible business. And very, very important in terms of sustainability and AI is around ethics, right? So how we can implement ethical AI and also to support inclusive tourism. How can AI be integrated to support inclusive tourism? Because AI relies a lot on a huge volume of data, and that's data available publicly, data being made available by government or other authorities, and data that we feed as users, whether we position ourselves as tourists or companies or researchers, right? And so there's part of the responsible use of AI is to ensure that we reduce bias, and also we need to make sure that there's fairness in the use of AI. And so one example that I would like to highlight for businesses is the opportunities to use AI to improve accessibility, for example, for inclusive tourism. And it's not only for those with physical limitations, unable to travel and so on, but also, for example, with those who would prefer a different types of tourism experience. So, for example, again, I'm in Vegas. When we go through different resorts, sometimes it can be very overwhelming for those, for example, with ADHD. And so having AI managing sort of or understanding and recognizing patterns from tourists to allow more inclusive tourism is also an opportunity. So these are basically the three principles to make sure that we implement AI more responsibly. But again, I think going back to the three questions first around how can we integrate AI and what are the challenges for us to implement AI. I've heard a lot about cost and investment. We talked about digital divide, and I think one of the things that we need to think about is I know there is a risk of widening digital divide because of access to AI, but one of the things to highlight again with generative AI is the ubiquity of AI. So now I think we have access, public, have access to really improved foundational model of AI, and there's a lot of opportunities for many people to actually use AI for different kinds of tasks. And so instead of perhaps focusing on the risk of digital divide, we can start thinking about how we can use AI as a leveling tool, right? So making sure that the bottom half would actually have access to the same, how can I say, opportunities as the top half. Another challenge, I think, to highlight, in addition to cost and skills gap, data privacy and security, is also the change management. So, many employees, perhaps especially if we're talking about small businesses and small enterprises, there is pressure from acquiring the skills of AI, but also there's also tension around maintaining the good old practice, so to speak, that has proven successful and effective. And so I think that's also one of the things that businesses will need support and facilitation in terms of AI adoption. Yeah, so I'm sure that the rest of the speakers today will give a lot of concrete examples of how AI has been integrated successfully to help tourism businesses and SMEs. And I look forward to having further discussion afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Is. So I'm back on the hybrid stage with you, and yeah, you can keep Is with us on the screen so that we can still see you, Is. So yeah, thank you very much for providing a lot of food for thought and raising important questions about also the ethical use of AI, but we also heard about labor shortages, upskilling, inclusive tourism. So I think a very complex topic, and especially in this very complex setting, also good to provide simple models, leadership, strategy, sustainability in your model. I think this is very important to guide also this discussion in the end. So, and yeah, personally, I particularly like the reference to AI as a catalyst for innovation and also the collaborative intelligence. So I think very interesting collaborative intelligence. Sometimes it's hard, even hard if two people work together. Maybe it's now more successful if a human and a machine works together. So looking forward to see these efforts. And Jane already mentioned the TUI examples, having an own AI companion that assists you in your work. These are the first steps that we can already see in this direction. So thank you for pointing on many of the critical questions. And yeah, we have prepared a Mentimeter and Is. We will see together and have a look at the Mentimeter and also see how our audience works with AI. So we have prepared a short poll. This cool tool is called a Mentimeter. So please scan the QR code or go to the webpage menti.com, enter the code that you can see on top of the page. But I can see it's already working, so we can already see a few results there. So let's wait just a second, and then we go question by question. So first, how often are you using AI in your work? Even if you can't see the QR code, you are able to go just on menti.com, use the code. And Is, I think we already can see, yeah.
Yes.
Most of our audience are using it rather occasionally, and another pillar where we on a daily basis. So I think yeah, what are your thoughts? Then we can move on to the next questions as well. So what is the level of AI use in your organization? So coming from your personal AI usage work to the use of AI in your organization. I think both questions are quite interlinked. So again, feel free to go to menti.com, use the code. So we can see basic use of AI is leading. Any particular thoughts on this? So we can see quite a difference. People are using AI for work, sometimes even on a daily basis. And yeah, at a business level, it's still a bit different.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating because, sorry, I think there's an echo. So I think it's quite fascinating because perhaps individuals are more sort of keen on trying and utilizing it to make their life easier, I guess. But organizations perhaps are slower in embedding AI more sort of widely in the organizations. And one of the things I think also that I forgot to highlight is for businesses and small and medium enterprises, sometimes I think the way that we think about scaling the organization is always based on human limitation, right? So we need to add more people when we reach this many sort of customers and so on. But I think now with AI, actually, there's the limitation to expand and scale. You will have much more, how can I say, power to do a lot more with smaller, fewer sort of people. So I think one of the things that's important really is that sort of the scaling aspect or thinking about human limitations to scale is perhaps not the way to think anymore when you're trying to scale.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So, and let's move on to our last question for the moment. So, for what purposes is AI being used in your organization? So we have, for example, marketing and sales, operation management, digital products like virtual tours, more general administration, all the HR, financing, accounting issues. And the first one behind the QR code is also on strategy development, strategic planning. Yeah, quite surprisingly on strategic planning is. I expected this to be lagging behind because it's a rather complex issue, I think, compared to marketing and sales, which is, yeah, of course, you have the translation, you can create text, you can create images. But strategic planning, I thought this is the most tricky one.
Probably because of the complexity, because you have to combine so many different aspects, right, of the organization. So that's where perhaps AI can be the most helpful.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Is. Yeah, thanks for the moment. So we will come back to these results later as well. So Is, please stay with us for the panel discussion. And yeah, again, applause for Is to Zadaya for her thought study. So it's a pleasure now to introduce you to our panelists. So we are very happy to have many different perspectives, and we start with Mr. Kelly Langley, and happy to have one of the OTAs represented as well. And no wonder Booking.com is also working on AI tools. And joining from the Japan office of Booking.com, please, Kelly Langley. And I also asked Xiangdong Wang, CEO of the mobility platform Ground K, to join us on stage. So Ground K is specialized in tourism transportation. So happy to have you You have also founded a company. Also, a startup perspective is very important when we talk about AI in tourism. So representing NUA Inc. and being an AI and software expert specialized in aviation distribution systems. Please welcome Sa Dokjin. The next panelist is coming a long way from the UK. He's Director of Travel Tech at the University of Edinburgh's Future Institute. He's specialized in applying AI and data-driven innovation and also leading this UK-wide community of travel tech companies. Welcome, Josh Ryan Zaha. And finally, joining live from Paris, so in the middle of the night, our colleague Marco Bianchini from the OECD is economist of the Center for Entrepreneurship, SMEs, Regions and Cities, and coordinator for the initiative Digital for SMEs, a global initiative. So he has worked with all the SMEs doing research, publishing policy papers and reports on the digital uptake of SMEs. A warm applause to Marco Bianchini, and hopefully we can see him on the screen just for introducing him. Does it work? Otherwise, we will see him for his intervention. We can move on, and Marco, we can still see you then. Yeah, perfect, we have you. Marco, nice to meet you. Warm applause for joining in the middle of the night. Very good, so it took quite a while to introduce all the speakers, so without further ado, Kelly, please, the floor is yours for your intervention. And for all the speakers, please stick to the 10 minutes so that we can save a bit of time for the discussion in the end. Kelly, please. I have my stuff. I need this.
Thank you very much. Let me just make sure I have my cheat sheet here and my timer, so I'm on time. First of all, let me share the sentiments among our speakers, distinguished guests and panelists to say thank you to the organizers. It is my pleasure to represent Booking.com to speak with you today. Before we get started, I'd want to just give a bit of an intro and some background. So my name is Kelly Langley. I'm the Public Affairs Manager for Japan and North Asia. My scope has mainly been focusing on Japan, but has been expanding to North Asia, including Korea. So I look forward to working with you as colleagues moving forward. I am by no means a technical expert, so there may be limitation to the degree that I can share. And certainly Booking.com is working on many things on the cutting edge. So I will do my best to provide the inputs to contribute to a vibrant discussion today. There's a lot happening with AI right now. I think even just 2 days ago, we saw Kakao announced a partnership with OpenAI. So it's a very exciting time, as well as a $500 billion investment to Stargate. So there's a lot to keep up with. Simply keeping up is almost a challenge. So just to kick us off, many of you probably already know Booking.com, but just to share some background, I won't go through all the data sets, but Booking.com is the largest company within Booking Holdings' portfolio. We have over 4.5 billion guest arrivals since 2010, and this is growing daily. So we have a global reach, including 29 million listings worldwide, and more than 7.9 million unique stays, including homes, apartments, hostels, boats, tree houses, igloos, you name it. So among this, over 175,000 destinations globally, we do 24/7 multilingual support in over 45 languages and dialects. This is a key opportunity, I believe, that we can explore today. Our mission is to make the world easier for everyone to experience and to connect. From a small Amsterdam startup to a global leader in the online travel agency space, we continue to evolve with a relentless focus on customers and innovation. We are positioned as a trusted partner for travelers and businesses worldwide. Now, how does a leading global OTA utilize AI? So for a tech company like Booking.com, AI is really embedded into everything that we do. From the first machine learning algorithms that fought payment fraud in the late 90s, we are constantly updating and ranking our formulas for personalized results and experiences. In the last year or so, there have been some great AI tools released to help our partners, including AI-produced summaries of accommodations, AI tools to help pictures to be more attractive to travelers, and updated search functions for natural language to help travelers find the perfect accommodation for their trip. Internally, we have seen employees really excited to use new tools for searching internal documents and policies, and AI assistants used for coding. Our sister organization, Agoda, is also on the cutting edge of this space, and they are implementing a lot of use cases to streamline their workforce. In other ways, we are using AI in more specific products and tools. So we recently released, the AI Trip Planner, which is essentially what was described earlier, a curated itinerary and trip planner. This is not yet released in Korea, I believe, but we have released it in Singapore, the US, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. So what this basically does is it helps to curate a plan and an itinerary for users using Booking.com's proprietary data. This helps the user experience in many ways with rankings to provide personalized use cases, personalized search, translations, which I think is a key for us in the Asia region, just because there's a lot of fragmented languages, cultures, nuance, and to make sense of this, particularly perhaps as us as Westerners traveling to this part of the world, to really experience the true hidden gems, let's say, of places like Gwangju that we are here today. I hope I said that right. There are also other use cases that we use this, such as moving on, AI. But I'd like to cover some of the risks as well. Already, much of this has been echoed, so I won't spend too much time. Perhaps I could focus on some of the potential solutions and ideas that we can work together. So as you know, there are some risks associated with it. One of them is fragmented data sources. So the tourism data is scattered across many different stakeholders. This might be airlines, hotels, local businesses, governments, and online travel agencies like ourselves. There are no unified databases that exist for AI-driven services that make seamless integration difficult. Standardization is needed to unlock the full potential of AI in travel. This may be a key opportunity for us with the public and private partnership to work together to access these and leverage these new data sets. Data privacy concerns are also key among travelers and governments, how people are getting more increasingly cautious about how personal data is collected and used. Obviously, there are security and ethics concerns as well. So anonymization of data, which is a key area that Booking.com is working on, to use this in a safe and responsible manner are one of the areas that we focus. Similarly, legacy systems, including how small enterprises rely on outdated software, manual processes, and lack of interoperability to access real-time data processing are some of the challenges that we face. This is also included with the digital divide that we see, where there might be unequal access to digital infrastructure, connectivity, and affordability, digital literacy, etc. So 2 cases that I'd like to share that are perhaps more specific and can help us guide the conversation. I could share more certainly during the panel, but just based on my experience in Japan, I'm sure this can be applicable elsewhere as with South Korea. So in Japan, Prime Minister Ishiba is really, pledging a dedication to regional revitalization. And in Japan, we typically see kind of the golden route, which is typically traveled by travelers from Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. And they would like to see the diffusion of tourists from these main tourist hubs to regional areas. So one of the ideas that can be explored perhaps jointly is how do we deal with over-tourism? And in this case, AI could be leveraged to accelerate the push of real-time data, translations, promotions, recommendations to different areas that are perhaps close by that are not as traveled to by frequent travelers. So perhaps, for example, there's a few examples here. So if you're looking to go to, let's say, Meiji Jingu or a park that's in central Tokyo, you could get recommended to go somewhere else that's maybe not on the beaten path. So somewhere like Tulips in Toyama or Fuji Rose Festival, for example, perhaps based on the timing and the seasonality or unique occasions that are perhaps less known to foreigners traveling abroad. Finally, another use case that we can dig into further is one that Booking.com is quite proud of, where we use kind of AI to look at fairness and fraud prevention. So chargeback fraud is quite rampant, and obviously fraud is increasing these days. And how we support SMEs within our platform is to help protect them when credit card fraud is existing. So we've actually seen through kind of machine learning models and detection of fraud to result in a 50% reduction. So over half of a reduction in false positives in credit card fraud. So this is one of the ways that it's a very specific and tangible way that is a productive and positive use case of AI deployment within our space, and specifically that an OTA like Booking.com is contributing to. With that, I'd like to close. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for also staying in time. I think good to highlight also the scope of the topic for the industry, but also I think interesting the small steps that businesses can take, even if it's using AI to create the text, to update your description there. Something that every tour operator, every OTA can do in the end. So, and also I think very good to see that Booking is in a powerful position to have an impact on the whole customer journey. So this is a very powerful position, I think. Also in cooperation with the destinations, we can see steps then also to managing tourist flows. Definitely something that we will also discuss during the second session of the day. Thanks. So yeah, next we move on to the transportation sector. And yeah, the stage is yours. Thank you very much for being here. Ground K represented today as well.
Hi, thank you for having this opportunity. Today, this is Daniel from the Ground K. We are specialized for digital transformation for transportation business operator. Today, I'd like to talk about the importance of the AI adoption and then digital transformation in our tourism industry, especially for tourism and transportation business operators. So as you know, nowadays AI is major trendy in our life, even though in tourism industry. So AI, the tourism industry is quickly expand like a curation and marketing, or curation, marketing, and translator and customer service center. But as you can see, those service AI is really mainly focused on the customer experience, which is B2C. How about the business operators? The business operators still have difficult having an AI technology, because they still in the analog, which is a manual process of work, so which is human intelligence, especially for transportation business. As you can see, there's 4 elements in tourism industry: the flight, hotel, activities, and transportation. On the hotel and the flight, they have a fully successful for the digital transformation. That's the reason why they have a great experience for the B2C service, such as OTA and Booking.com too. But can you imagine for the transportation operator, such as chauffeur service, the tour charter coach, and then premium taxi service? Their tourism transportation is totally different with the public transportation, such as hailing service or taxis, subway, or express bus. What's the difference? They are just a life service, and the tourism transportation, their target market is the corporate travel or meeting an event, and then distance or the purpose of the use. So this transportation for tourism operator, their main core task is the reservation management and the quality control of the service management, because they work contract-based or corporate client management. If they made one mistake, the corporate client, they're gone. They're gonna looking for another provider. But unfortunately, the transportation operators still do this core task by analog manual process. Phone, call, SMS, who is the driver? I'm gonna text to you. I'm gonna SMS, I'm gonna WhatsApp to you. Where's the driver? Let me check. I'll get back to you, you know. So, my ground case, we are helping the transportation operator to turn on the digitalization to overcome this challenge for the tourism transportation operators. Let me share with our tourism mobility PMS, which is called T-Rise Up. So T-Rise Up means transportation business, we can make up rise up for the next value and the business value, including for the revenue too. T-Rise jobs can easily manage their property management. What's the transportation for the property? Probably hotel has a PMS for the property. It's like a room management or reservation management. Transportation operator for a property, for a reservation and the corporate client, and then drivers and vehicles. So T-Rise can easily to manage the drivers, vehicles, reservation, the pricing through the one single platform, and then could save time, the human error zero, and then increase the revenue too. We empower to transportation business by giving them the tool to compete and grow in the digital age. As you can see, the Ubers or Kakao already had those kind of system, but small and medium transportation operator, how they can have a tracking system. They know they can call the drivers, where are you? But the transportation business, we have to know what's the service status, not only per location. Did you drop off the passenger? Did you pick up the passenger? Did you meet the passenger? Where are you? How many minutes left? We have to speak with the drivers for the service status updated. But the transportation operator still had some analog base in this operation. I'm gonna share with you some my successful case study. Last May, there's 50 African nations leaders came to Korea because of there's Africa Summit. On that time, we made 500 VIP vehicles for this event using our T-Rise. We must coordinate with many delegates and the organizer and many drivers. And then we made a successful event. For here in Gyeongju, the October, our APEC Summit is coming. On that time, also we were preparing for those kind of transportation management. Can you imagine if your CEO is coming to Seoul? Can you call the Uber? No, it cannot possible. That's the totally different with the public transportation and tourism transportation. And then there's the Casino. Casino is not a transportation company, but they do have a VIP transportation management. So many VIP using for the Casino, and then ask to manager, I need a car. The VIP operation team is struggle with the last minute change because of VIP. VIPs do not expect about the schedule. They just immediately, boom, I need a car. So this operation team needs some system. So they're using for the system, for the T-Rise job, and we made a smoother operation, improve the customer satisfaction. So if you ask me, does ground K using for AI? I say, the first digital transformation, then AI. Because AI limited to collect the user data without successful digitalization. That means AI cannot work properly with the digitalization. So before using or adopt AI, we must first digitalization for the business operation. Then a strong digital foundation is the key to making AI work. With our proven experiences, we incorporate quality data, such as driver condition and traffic environment and historical service quality. This results highly accurate dispatching that improved efficiency and customer satisfaction compared to AI-based automatic dispatching system. They will only make the decision rely on the vehicle turnaround rate. AI can transform in our tourism industry, but we need a digital workspace built with the expert knowledge and then broad and detailed industry, our huge raw data. With these elements, AI will transform tourism transportation into a smarter, more adapted industry. The setting up the digital infra is essential for the AI adoption. AI and digital transformation is not a longer choice. It's a must. We have a must item. Now it's time to design for the digital transformation and AI to shape the future of the tourism transportation. In ground case, we bridge traditional operation with the AI-driven innovation, the leading this transformation. The digital transformation lay the foundation, and AI take our future forward. In ground case, we do not just follow the trend or improve technology. We're helping the transportation operator in traditional industries grow with our digital solution. Thank you for having us this time. We'd like to work together, build a smarter, more efficient in our tourism industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Also highlighting the still analog nature of our tourism services, discussing very practical issues, mobility from A to B, but also I think the combination using AI for real-time information, but also combining it with the manpower, with the information on the driver and so on. I think this is a very good example of the human AI teaming also Yves was talking about. And before we move on, I'd like to also remind you to use the Q&A function for the ones joining online. For the ones joining in the room, feel free to raise your hands. We will also then, after each intervention, we will also have the time to discuss a few issues. So you are very welcome to submit your questions and to participate actively. So let's turn the floor to Sadok Jin from NUA Inc. for his presentation. He will speak in Korean. We are prepared and have real-time translation with us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sadok Jin. I'm the CEO of NUA. Thank you very much for having me at this meaningful event. Now, the title of my presentation is Next Gen Distribution System Meets AI in Tourism. Before I begin, I would like to tell you a little bit about us. NUA is a travel tech startup powered by AI. In air distribution, NUA is ARM Index certified, which is a metric used by IATA to validate a company's airline retailing capabilities. NUA is also committed to R&D of AI technologies to improve efficiency and consumer satisfaction. We serve as a system provider offering software as SaaS to travel agencies. In recent years, AI has been improving at a rapid pace. With the advent of general-purpose foundation models such as GPT and Gemini, AI is now able to address a broader range of situations that then was possible just a few years ago when it was limited to individual problem-solving models. AI agents, especially those based on foundation models like ChatGPT, are evolving beyond simple search to become tools for decision-making and problem-solving. DeepSeek, which has disrupted the AI sector for the past few days, has shown that it is possible to do this open source and on a reasonable budget. This will allow us to envision a scenario where AI is not the exclusive domain of global big tech, but is open sourced and applied in a variety of domains. Then, what do we need to do to best use AI? This is what we have in mind at NUA. Let's think of steam trains during the Industrial Revolution. Now, for these trains to run, infrastructure called railroads had to be built. For AI agents to work properly, it's also of the essence to create an infrastructure of digitalization. Now we need to connect all of them in terms of technology, standardization, and automated real-time connectivity is required, as this allows data to flow organically across travel agents, airlines, hotels, and other industries. In the end, we believe that AI agents will be able to create the right synergy with the infrastructure called digitalization. Then what's the current state of the travel industry? Travelers often don't receive hotel confirmation until hours after booking. Overbooking is still a challenge, and airlines face a similar challenge. And it's not easy to change or cancel a ticket through a travel agent on weekends and holidays, because even in 2025, ticket changes and cancellations are done manually. You cannot assign seats when you book, and you can't add baggage until you get to the airport. All of these issues are caused by the fact that they're not digitized. Now in hotel, this is accommodation distribution, and the bottleneck is on the hotel side. Traditionally, hotels have been managing properties manually, including bookings, changes, and cancellations. Due to non-standardized distribution channels, real-time channel management of inventory and pricing has been difficult to manage in real time, which limits revenue generation. However, the adoption rate of PMS and CMS has recently increased, accelerating the digital transformation of hotels. As a result, property management processes are streamlined and various revenue management techniques are implemented using data. In particular, direct booking and different rate plans are starting to create structural changes in the industry. Many startups are helping hotels digitally transform in this area. However, along this comes the so-called digital divide. And digitization in airline distribution is a little bit more complex. This complexity is caused by the aging intermediate distribution system, the GDS, which stands for Global Distribution System, a system that emerged in the 1980s. Key tasks include ticketing, reissuing, refunds, and they are performed manually by entering commands known as entries, creating many bottlenecks for travel agencies, including longer wait times for consumers and higher labor costs. However, still as of today, GDS accounts for 90% of the entire ecosystem. To improve this, IATA is releasing NDC, a new distribution standard for next-generation ticket distribution. NDC enables direct connection between airlines and travel agents bypassing GDS, which can result in lower distribution cost. And support for multiple data formats also makes it possible to offer a variety of additional services that were not available in the past. In NDC, airlines standardize all data and make it available in real time. Now, that means that we can create the digital infrastructure. IATA aims to have NDC adoption by airlines worldwide by 2030. In fact, with all but one of the 16 largest airlines accounting for 50% of global ticket transitions adopting NDC, the percentage of NDC ticketing is rising rapidly. However, just like hotels, SMEs, especially the travel agencies, struggle to transition to next-gen system because they lack the manpower and money. Now, as a travel tech startup, NUA aims to support these travel agencies in their digital transformation journey. In addition, the introduction of various distribution innovations for NDCs can streamline distribution steps and diversify the distribution structure to improve travel agency profitability. Now, based on this digital infrastructure, The plan at NUA is to apply various AI services such as work automation and hyper-personalization to industries. Now, we want to collaborate with travel agents and other channels as we address the digital divide in our industry with technology that is ready to go. I would like to briefly introduce one of the actual cases with Uricard. Uricard decided to launch a travel channel to improve customer experience and launched Uri One Travel in April last year using NUA solution. NUA can offer travel software that the card companies don't have. The company was able to create synergies by offering promotions to customers and using its payment infrastructure. We want to expand the travel market by collaborating with various industries such as commerce and mobility, in addition to finance, to promote convergence with other industries and create a collaborative ecosystem. Creating such an ecosystem requires more than just collaboration between startups and enterprises. Public support is needed to strengthen the digital competitiveness of each country's travel ecosystem, especially as global OTAs grow rapidly and widen the digital divide. The Korean government, with the support of the KCTI, seeks to help small and medium-sized travel agencies digitize through tourism innovation vouchers and digital transformation projects. So that is the support of the government. And with this kind of sustained and organized support from the government, digital transformation and AI promotion will flourish. So to sum up, I believe that technological innovation from startups, digitalization of travel agencies, and continued support from the government will lead to successful AI adoption in the tourism industry and a more sustainable tourism space. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot, Sadok Jin, also for highlighting the infrastructure that is needed for AI. So we need to prepare and do something. At the same time, we need to dive into the different tools and explore the tools that we like to implement. Also interesting to see that NDC is now complementing the GDS, which has certainly be one of the most important innovations in the tourism sector. And we turn the floor to a colleague who is very much into the innovation and supporting business innovation, supporting travel tech companies. So, Josh, the stage is yours.
Hello. Thank you very much for the fantastic session and for the invitation. I have to say to the Korean Tourism Organization and the Ministry that you have one more very happy tourist today to Korea. As you've just briefly mentioned, my role has been to support travel technology companies in Scotland and across the United Kingdom. And my presentation today is very briefly going to be my perspective on the innovations that I have seen using artificial intelligence through the travel tech sector that I think are interesting, that are valuable, but they are not comprehensive. And I think one of the major or most important things to remember with AI is that it is changing all the time and there can be no one expert that can tell you it all. It is a privilege to be here because we get a chance to share all of these insights together. So the first thing I would mention is when it comes to investment in travel technology, a substantial amount comes into the AI and machine learning space. It is over 50% of all investments relate to AI. It is the signal in the market that is dominant. So with that being the case, we know that the whole tourism industry is going to change relating to AI. And in the area that I see it the most, it has been around engagement with visitors, with customers, how we handle inquiries, but also how we improve the experience. So Just when ChatGPT was launched in 2023, I hosted a roundtable with the Chief Technology Officer of TravelPerk and with Skyscanner, and we had a discussion about how they envisaged using AI. They had already started, and just over a weekend, TravelPerk were able to create a tool that was able to convert hundreds of the emails that they were receiving from customers who had created an itinerary with them. And they were able to use AI to respond to 80% of all of those emails to automatically handle them. And this was in the early days of AI. Now, this automated handling of emails and inquiries from the bigger travel technology companies is standard. Kiwi and Skyscanner and others are doing this automatically. And just with TravelPerk's tool, it is now over 2 million emails sent that is automated, saving countless hours and time and money. The other way that I'm seeing this is in chatbots that are delivered through the mechanisms that we use every single day, like WhatsApp in Europe and especially in the UK. Hotels are allowing for check-in or room service delivery, all to be managed using AI chatbots in WhatsApp. And there are a range of different travel technology companies just from across Europe that are facilitating that. But it is not just about solving smaller problems through AI. There are companies now that are taking that step forward from solving a problem to persuasion and sales. So Hotel Planner, has recently announced that what it is doing is actually selling through their automated call service. And they already have accounted for over £150,000 worth of automated sales. For me, that is important because it has changed the dynamic of what AI can do. It is now able to be more human-like in multiple languages, persuade, influence, and convince people to make a booking without a human on the other side of that interaction. It is also in some of the more fun aspects of hospitality and tourism. My favorite example is something called the Living Museum. So with the British Museum's archive and their structured data set and metadata about everything within that museum, there's an awful lot of information that doesn't reach the as standard museum visitor. So if you were to visit the website, the Living Museum, you can search for anything that interests you, anything that may show up in that metadata about every component of that museum. Here, I included lighthouses because I live next to a lighthouse in Edinburgh. It's very nice. And what you can do is find every artifact that relates to it. But more importantly, you can then have a dialogue in multiple languages with that artifact, find out more about it, and learn the path that you want to take, the niche path that you want to take across that museum. And there are fun ways you can expand upon that. This is an example from Miami where you can actually pick up the phone and have a phone conversation with Dali using his beautifully designed phone. So there are a lot of fun ways that AI is being more creative. Now, the second way that AI is influential, and we've heard a lot about it already, is how do we encourage and influence, promote, market our destinations, our businesses to visitors from across the world. Now, when you work in travel tech, as soon as AI hit the market, everyone thought they had the best idea for a travel tech company, and it was all, I will create a trip planner. And so there were a huge number of these companies, but in truth, it hasn't been difficult to achieve, so it's become a bit of a commodity. Everyone can create a trip planner. You can use the freely available tools. Where there is interest is where you can start to use different data sets to cultivate and curate unique experiences that align to a particular value set. So Byway is a UK company that is focused on sustainability, where you can book a curated trip that is only using the railways. Now, these are much more complicated trips because they take longer, you have multiple stops, you have to have different modes of transport, including ground transportation. And so it is been able to weave together complicated trips using AI that is also more sustainable. One of the fastest growing and already established ways for us to discover things to do is, of course, through social media. And we are now finding that travel agents are often influencers on our favorite channels. And now they are finding that they can use AI tools to automatically convert their video content into bookable products using things like Viderio. And a Scottish company that I love to promote, Obvlo, have been able to take it one step further. Rather than just promoting everything that is already busy or we all already know about, it uses AI to create and surface content that has been validated by respected institutions like newspapers or reviewers, and then it brings those forward to provide content for hotels or destinations for you to discover the best path, not the most well-trodden path. Now, other areas that AI is changing is, of course, the way that we search, which is, here is one example of Perplexity, which provides information back to you immediately, rather than perhaps the most paid-for content at the top. And that is meaning that we need to find new ways for small businesses to be discovered. We need to provide a lot more content in our search engine optimization platforms so that we can be discovered in these new search methodologies. And we've already heard about the potential of AI agents. These could potentially help smaller businesses increase their revenue through direct booking. So this is an exciting example, but there's still a long way to go. These agents still fall often at very simple hurdles in the booking process. Now, one quick point here. You can create itineraries very quickly. You can create these beautiful paths that you can take. But often it is not what the visitor actually wants. Part of the joy of being a visitor is creating and cultivating the things that you want to do by observing and looking for it yourself. And I think the IKEA effect comes into play. The IKEA effect is where if you make it yourself, you have invested some of your love, your time into that object, and therefore you are a lot more likely to look after it and enjoy it. Now, I think the same is true with travel planning. You want to be able to explore, look at the images, and map it together. And I think that's where IS has talked about human-machine cooperation to develop plans that are what we truly want. It's more of a tool to negotiate our trips. Now, the final thing, the thing I think is actually most important when it comes to small businesses, is how we can automate the back office. How can we help these businesses that are struggling to hire, often have only 1 or 2 people running them, to deliver financial sustainability, make sure they can increase their bookings. Now, one simple way is if you have a website, you can now use AI to automatically label all of the images on that site. Dr. Roman Egger worked with Vienna's tourism industry to automate that process, a job that would take someone a whole summer to do, usually in minutes. A really simple way to do it, a lot of time saved for small businesses. Another way, which we've talked a little bit about, has been how AI can be used to manage data. Often we have these data systems, but they are complicated, they are messy, and it is difficult to extract value from them. So we can use it to curate better tables, but then democratize access to that data across the business. One of my favorite travel tech companies in Scotland was a voice AI system that meant that you could have a dialogue with your reservation management system. You walk into the restaurant and you say, how many covers do we have today? And what are they going to order in advance? And you can start to have a better dialogue with your data so that you can better manage what you're doing in a restaurant that day. And another area that is a huge time burden for restaurants or hotels is how you manage procurement of raw materials. And there's a company here called Folio from the United States that uses AI to generate your own shop front so that you can select the best raw materials at the cheapest price based on your historic purchasing decisions. So these are all ways that we're seeing AI save time. The final one is process automation. So this has been around for a long time. It hasn't been around in tourism for as long, but this is just one example where a financial transaction system could be made much more quick because of AI. It can interpret all of your invoice information, and then it can categorize it and put it immediately into the systems that you're using to manage finances. So my final point, for small tourism businesses, there are two key skill sets to master those three areas. The first is using the freely available tools in a way that they can make the most of those tools. But the second is having the knowledge to purchase the travel technology systems that are going to be most useful for them. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Thanks, Josh. Nice to see that also different applications from different parts of the industry, including museums as well. So very good to see also the importance of curated content. So also the point where the human intelligence comes into action and we have this human AI teaming. Very interesting points also on the SMEs. And we have also an expert on SMEs with us. So joining online, Marco Bianchini. Happy to hear, Marco, about the digital uptake of SMEs and your insights as well. Welcome to our hybrid stage in Korea, Marco.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope you can hear me well. Yeah, I gather so. So it's a pleasure to be here, to be there with you, and sorry for not being able to be there in person. And again, I'm joining you from the night in Paris, and I'm hoping I will be able to contribute to this discussion, which has already been quite interesting. And thank you very much to all the speakers before me.
Marco,
who already touched on.
Marco, just to quickly interrupt, the audio isn't perfect. I don't know if you have headphones available, a headset.
I do. Just give me a second. I will try with a different. Is this working better?
Let's try. I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I was trying a different set of headphones. Okay, great. And again, thank you for having me. And this is something today I will discuss some of our uptakes, of course, the uptake of AI in tourism, but of course, trying to give also a broader perspective of what we are seeing in the uptake of AI and especially generative AI. So let's say this last wave of AI across OECD countries, as well as its potential impact on productivity. Of course, as you can imagine, I'm an OECD economist, so you will see a lot of data and a lot of statistics in my presentation because we try to give as much as the concrete points as we can on this development to complement also many of the points that have been made by the previous speakers. In this sense, in my presentation, there will be two parts. The first one, I will talk about the impact of generative AI in tourism, and then I will show you also some key survey insights on the how SMEs, and so SMEs we mean small and medium enterprises across sectors, but including in tourism, how these small companies are starting to starting to use this technology, and which are the main opportunities and risks that they are facing. First of all, talking about the impact of generative AI, and again, here we are really talking about, let's say, kind of the last wave of AI. Again, speakers before me referred to it. Joshua was the last about the GPTs, like let's say the last, let's say, large language model. And we know that there is something that has been studied more and more is its impact on jobs and which type of jobs. And of course, here you can see a graph in which comes from our colleagues in the OECD. We looked at how both, and this point also Professor Tosidaya made at the very beginning, it's how AI will complement as well the jobs, and so how we can use this tool in order to do our jobs better rather than replacing them. And a thing that you can see here is, of course, that the least replaceable jobs, and this is something that comes up very often, is that with AI, if I asked you 100 years ago, which would have been the least, one of the most resilient jobs in the future, in the work market of the future, possibly you would have told me you would have not told me the dishwasher or the dancer. While instead we realized that with these technologies, actually these type of jobs are the ones that are most difficult to replace. While, as you can see, this red arrow is why I can sleep very well at night, because with jobs as the economist, so what we do, it's actually something in which the AI models perform quite well, because of course a lot of it is about pattern recognition, data analysis, and this type of tasks are the ones in which this type of software excels. Of course, we are talking about impact on jobs, but the key questions also for governments and for policymakers and for whoever puts it in place, it's what's the impact on productivity, and especially what's the impact on productivity in a medium term. So other than the immediate uses that we have, how this will impact productivity in, let's say, 10 years. As you can see, nobody has an answer, meaning that, as you can see here, we have a very vast range of different responses to this question. You can see from the top left, there is this Bailey Brynjolfsson. These are some of the best researchers in the MIT in the United States, and they are speaking about, or in McKinsey, so in a consultancy company, these people are talking about extremely high impact on productivity. While if you look at all the estimates, including Goldman Sachs, IMF, etc., all the way to Acemoglu, who is the most recent winner of the Nobel Prize, he has a completely different estimate. So you see his estimate is the one on the most right on this graph, and which is close to zero. It's 0.2% per year. So it's in his view, actually, this technology really have a very low impact on productivity. So just to say that if you feel confused about this question, know that all the best researchers in the world are confused as well. So nobody knows precisely what will be the impact, and there are many different estimates. The OECD estimates is around that red line that I added there at 0.6%, so more or less in the average of the previous ones. And one point is that, okay, how it impacts sectors, and so this is it's a very heavy graph, but because here I wanted to show the different impacts on the different sectors of the economy, because of course, as AI has different impact on different jobs within the economy, also these can be looked at through sectors. And of course, here I highlighted it's the tourism. I think the tourism sector is one of the most interesting one, because of course it has it touches many different sectors. So operators in many different sectors actually contribute to the tourism industry. And so here I highlighted, if you look on the left side, accommodation and food, which is one that is among the least exposed to generative AI, but among the most exposed to robots and to automation. And if you go to the right, again, the green line is the exposure to AI. You see that land transportation, it's the other one I highlighted. It's something, and again, we had the colleague that just speak in the same panel that was discussing, especially like I think it was Mr. Dongguan from Ground K that was highlighting how AI is being applied in land transportation for tourism. And this is again another sector you see that already will have very likely a higher impact of generative AI, all the way going to the right to art and recreation, wholesale and retail. So again, different sectors that touch the tourism industry, and in which, of course, AI will have a high role. Of course, as you can see in this graph, the point is that if you are not being touched by AI, you will likely be touched by robots and automations. So in any case, we need to be like business and firms, they need to be ready for this future and need to be ready to transform in order to be effective in this transition. And here it's again talking about sector. Here again we can see the potential depending on different scenarios. So again, knowing that there is not a unique view of how this will happen, and of course. This depends as well on the infrastructure that will be put in place. I think it was Mr. Diokin from NUA that touched upon this earlier in the panel on how also AI needs its own infrastructure. And these different estimates that you can see here are based on different scenarios related to how fast this infrastructure will be online, how fast this infrastructure will be deployed. And again, here the estimates were made comparing with different technologies that we call them general purpose technologies, that have happened in the past, as indeed it could have been the railway or the electricity. Again, different technologies that needed a big infrastructure in order to be fully deployed. But let's look in the second part of my presentation of the key insights we gathered on SMEs specifically, so on small and medium-sized enterprises. These were gathered during within the context of our Digital for SME global initiative. Again, I invite you to look for it online. We had a full roundtable on this, and all the results that I'm about to show are published in the paper that you can see on screen, that is called SME Digitalization to Manage Shocks and Transition. And you can see the QR code in case you are interested. This is a freely downloadable PDF from the OECD website. And something interesting to you, I guess, it's also that in this survey, we covered 7 OECD countries, including Korea. And as you can see, I mean, Kakao, which is it's a household name in Korea, so it's a very known company in Korea. This means that the methodology that we used in order to get these responses was to share the survey that was designed by the OECD with companies using Kakao in Korea and Rakuten in Japan, Intuit in the US, and Amazon in the European countries. So basically, here all the responses are from companies that are already using Kakao for their business operation. What does this mean? It means, of course, that the sample is a very specific sample. So it's not any company in Korea. This means companies that already have business operation that are partly digital and in which they can use platforms as Kakao in order to reach their clients. First of all, again, here I won't go into the details, but just to show that we have a representation of companies across some of the key sectors that are represented, that are part of the tourism industry, as retail trade, food and beverage, arts, entertainment, and recreation, but of course also from many others. And what we asked them was, okay, what do you think about generative AI, and do you see more opportunities or risks? And here we saw that of our respondents, 57% consider the benefits of using generative AI overweigh the risk. But 57% is a high number. But of course, this also means that I feel almost half of the business, almost 43% of the business that answered our survey, again, so businesses that are already quite digitalized, they told us no, that actually the risks outweigh the opportunities. So there is still something to be careful, and I will speak a bit more about this in a minute. When also we asked them, we asked them many different open questions, and some of the key questions that came out, some of the key answers, again, is a word cloud analysis, and we saw that a lot of them refer to thinking, knowing, understand, so using this technology really to be integrated in the process. Again, some of the speakers before me that were touching upon these different and more the different levels of use of this technology, and I will come back to this. This was both Professor Tusiadiha and as well as Joshua from Scotland, that he was just touching on this point on how these different technologies can be used again at different generative AI can be used at different levels within a company. But also, of course, they were referring to some more, let's say, normal business terms, as well as both opportunities and risks. And in particular, when we asked them, this is already some of the data that I can show, and again, I'm going towards the end of my presentation. These are some data that we gathered even more recently. So the ones I showed up to this moment are already published in our paper, while here I kept just for you a preview of what we will publish in a couple of months. So this is a survey that we conducted at the end of 2024, so just 2 months ago. And in this survey, again, when we are asking about the use of AI, you can see that we have, again, a bit more than half of the firms that were saying that we are not using AI and they do not, or that either they do not have plans to use it or they have plans to use it. But also interesting that 26%, so 1 in 4 businesses were telling us that we are using generative AI. This is something that goes a bit with the survey that Johannes just launched in the room and for participants online to this session, so in which we see that many people are using it at different levels. Here, 2 points to make before I go to the next slide is that, first of all, it's on generative AI, we have to be very careful when we say about using it, because again, we have to qualify this, meaning that yes, using it, can mean that you have tried to ask something to ChatGPT, to ask ChatGPT to prepare a story, a bedtime story to tell your kids, or if you're using generative AI in a more advanced way to support your business, trying to integrate it really in your business, I don't know, creating your bespoke AI agent based on ChatGPT API, so something a bit more advanced. So again, this is a technology that has a low barriers to entry for SMEs. That's something we see, but also it's a technology that needs to be, that can impact productivity in different ways depending on how we use it. And the second point I want to make here is related to the passive and active use of AI, because this is something also quite interesting, because I think it was Mr. Langley from Booking.com that was discussing this point earlier, and he was saying, I think his sentence was something like AI is embedded in everything we do. And indeed, this is something that we kind of give it for granted to say, okay, the big companies, let's say the large tech providers of digital services, they do integrate AI in most of their services, and of course they also propose very innovative services. So here, actually, you can see that many of the business that answered that, told that we are not using AI or we are not planning to do, actually they are just businesses that basically they're not very much aware of the fact that by being on these platforms, and again, all respondents here were on Kakao, so all of these respondents they were all present on platforms. So they were just not aware that actually they were passively using AI, meaning they were using platforms that would in turn use AI. So even for the businesses that think they're not using it, most of them, they're actually using it through the services that they're accessing in the market. And finally, again, I know I'm almost at the end of my time, so I will go to the end. Here we also asked again about the impact of AI, and we saw that almost 3 in 4 businesses said that they had from moderate to transfer into significant and transformational impact of the use of generative AI in their business. And finally, not to forget that there are still quite a lot of risks related to the use of this technology. This is something that, of course, should not scare us off, meaning that in every technology, there is always a trade-off. And in particular, when we asked about which type of risk businesses were most concerned about, of course, what came out mostly was copyright and legal, data privacy, inaccurate information that can be shared on these platforms. So these are some of the key points that businesses are talking about, are thinking about. And as you know, these are also some of the most relevant points that have been put at the forefront of regulation in AI. So I'm based in Paris, so we know in Europe there have been a very extensive AI Act, so very extensive legislation that has been published on this topic. But of course, we know that also in Korea, this has been very recently published, a very extensive AI law that is also, for some respect, similar to the European one, in which we try, again, the regulator tries to make it safer for businesses to use, because the key point here is, okay, AI uptake, but it must be safe and responsible so that businesses can do it effectively and safely. So finally, my key takeaways relate to how fast this is going, because when I told you about generative AI, 1 in 4 businesses saying that they used it, this is a technology that is available since 2022. So like in 2 years, get to 1 out of 4 business, it's incredible. It's an extremely fast uptake, which means, again, a lot of opportunities and risks to manage, meaning that as well, the perception is mostly positive, but of course, we have to be careful as well about the barriers that are still there. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation. And again, hearing the QR code is for my LinkedIn page in case you want to connect directly or ask me anything about the data that I just showed. And I would be very happy to participate now to the discussion. So thank you, Hannes. Back to you.
Thank you, Marco, also for pointing on the different levels of AI implementation, AI use. So the nuances are very important, I think, also when we discuss AI adoption for business. And of course, good to show the difference between robots and AI implementation. So I think many colleagues in the room may sleep better now. As an economist, yeah, this might be an issue in the future, but also great to see if Korea has any specific data. Feel free to share on the AI implementation of businesses. Very good to have a kind of baseline and see how we could move forward. Yeah, so we are now starting to move on with the panel discussion. So thanks for all the speakers for their short presentations. So Yves and Marco, we have you on the hybrid stage together with our in-person speakers. To our audience, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A function, or in the room, please raise your hands. So we like to discuss a few things, but at first, Yves, I'd like to give the word to you as our thought starter. So we heard many interesting things from our speakers. Just as a quick reaction, we heard a lot of human AI teaming. So yeah, what new have you learned, and what's your perception here from this panel discussion on this human AI teaming collaborative intelligence issue?
Yeah, no, great. I think there are a lot of examples from various speakers around where AI and human intelligence, so to speak, can be effective in various domains within tourism businesses. One key aspect, I think we talked a lot about skills. Skills gap and how cost and time and some other challenges associated with human AI tipping or integrating AI into the team within your business. One of the key areas I think that we're starting to discuss with businesses that we work with at SARI is around creating minimum viable toolkit. And so I love how Josh, suggested the two areas or what businesses can do, using readily available technology or platform, and then sort of buying the most useful system out there for SMEs. I think one of the key things around generative AI, especially with the foundation model, is they are powered by use, right? And so I think one of the challenges for users or employees is not knowing how to use it, and when they try to use it for work, for the tasks, for the specific tasks, when they find that it's not that helpful, they stop using it. And so I think it's one of the things that businesses can encourage employees to do, is essentially, the more, how can I say, the more you use it, the better the system can understand perhaps the parameters around your problems and so on. And so I think really for companies to start looking into how they can develop this minimum viable toolkit for employees to start using it.
Yeah, thanks, Yves. And I think we should continue also having the discussion on SMEs and digital uptake. And Marco, I think also to start from the broader global OECD perspective, we have also policymakers in the room. So what do you think from your experience, or what do you see from your reports as well? So what are the main tools that the OECD governments, for example, are using to support the digital uptake of businesses, and especially the AI uptake of SMEs? I think there's a wide range of responses. So happy if you could shortly introduce us to the set of responses for digital uptake.
Sure. Thank you very much, Hannes. And indeed, we are seeing, as this conference shows itself, again, the interest now on the topic is very high. So also, both businesses are looking at it throughout the world in very specific manner in how this can be implemented. Again, what Professor Tusiadia was just saying, like, again, in matter of skills, how they can get to really make it work for their businesses. And this is something, of course, that government knows this. So governments know that this is happening, know that businesses are looking at how to do this. And so in different ways across the OECD, they are trying to support them in this uptake. I think that the main, the approach are twofold. So governments are on one side, and again, it's twofold also depending on the governments, meaning that some governments more put the accent on one side and some other governments on the other. Meaning that one of the two approaches is regulatory. So meaning to try to make this uptake as safe as possible. So to make it so that businesses that upload their proprietary data or that use these kind of tools to really be integrated in their business can do that in a responsible and safe manner, and so that they can be protected from the main risks connected again to copyright, data infringement, as well as the possibility of misinformation or inaccurate information that can be shared on their business, by their business, on their clients, and let's say all that type of aspect. So this is one side. On the other side, again, for SMEs, one key point the governments usually try to support them with is with skills development and with access to finance to implement these tools. When we talk about skills development, often it means very directly to offer, sometimes it's directly to offer trainings or offer the government programs in order to present, like put businesses in connection, often with trainers or with business mentors that can help them integrate these in their businesses. But of course, as you know, this is also, again, it's a technology that came out 2 years ago. So yeah, there are some experts around, but it's also very, very recent technology. So the point there, it's also about how to allow businesses to understand the technology at the level that, okay, you can use it for some basic functions. So I mean, basic, not necessarily basic. They can have an impact in the sense that you can use it for marketing. You can say, if you're selling something on e-commerce platform, you can say, ask to ChatGPT to write the description of your product and write it in 10 languages and upload it right away. So there are some uses that are relatively basic, but still that can be quite effective and can impact the sales of the company. And of course, in the tourism sector, this is the same. Like you can get description of all the main tourism spots in your city that you're trying to let's say to sell online as a tourist operator, and then put it in all the languages you want and make it available to anybody visiting your website. So this is also something that is connected with this initiative. It's not because, of course, we already had automatic translation before, but with this technology, you can also have an additional step which is connected with something that one of the previous speaker was talking about before, which is hyper personalization. So meaning that you can create services. I think it was Mr. Deokjin. Sorry, I was checking again his name to say how these stories and these points that you're raising and that you're putting up for everybody to access can be very deeply personalized, and you can give access to your clients to something that is very much an experience that is really tailored to them. And these governments, so they help in creating the skills within the businesses to go from this basic use to this more advanced use, so that can really impact their productivity in the long term. And on the other side, also they're providing financing tools to do so, because of course the point is also to try to both have the financial resources and the time, which is often one of the main resources that is difficult to find within companies, to hire the right people, and also having access to the right instruments specifically for the company, including sometimes by giving vouchers or financing the businesses to get in touch with other SMEs in the ICT sector that can help them in this transition and that can support them in this transition. So again, I think this twofold approach is what we are seeing around the OECD, and I think it will continue to develop on both aspects, again, depending on the different policymakers.
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot, Marco, for showing the different opportunities for the policymakers to support the businesses in this regard. And you're all invited to post your questions, and we have a question from the audience, Sergio Guerrero, chair of the OECD Tourism Committee, but also Turismo de Portugal. Please, your question, Sergio.
Thank you, Anas. And first of all, congratulations on the panel and all the presentations. I think it was quite rich and quite useful, at least from my perspective. Perhaps my question goes to Josh. You mentioned several startups working on AI, and also working on in that area in Portugal. And one thing that keeps me awake at night is, how do I provide more exposure to all that talent and all that technology that it's available to SMEs to adopt? Because I think we are not living in a time of lack of talent. We are living in a time where putting that talent at the service of small business companies is a challenge. So how do you see that topic, and how do you see particularly the role of governments also in providing that? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. We in Scotland have tried a couple of approaches which have had some success. And that has been test beds. So how do you help startups or companies with new products quickly find their market, which is particularly difficult when you have a market that is independent providers or very small businesses. So we played at Travel Tech for Scotland a intermediary role where we connected very small businesses with some startups that were doing something that we felt was interesting and useful and had at least some level of validation. And then we would make those introductions. We would provide a small amount of funding to get it started. And then we would do an evaluation, because we're a university or part of a university, that would see whether it worked. And if it hadn't, why not? And so it allowed a small business to access new technology for free, to get some training alongside that, and then to evaluate what worked and what didn't. The final thing I'll say, because I'm sure there'd be some fantastic expert advice from the rest of the panel, would be that there's some evidence relating to the adoption of ground source heat pumps in the United Kingdom, which are great tools to reduce your carbon footprint, and the UK is trying to push them out. That the one defining feature to allow other people to use those heat pumps is to know that your next door neighbour is using them. So to have social proof that your colleagues, your compatriots are doing something and that you can see them doing it is the one essential feature. So if you can get 2 or 3 small tourism businesses using some of the fantastic travel technologies that you have in South Korea and Korea, then I think you can really help accelerate the adoption of new technology like AI.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'd like to modify the question a little bit for Kelly. To give exposure to innovative businesses is one of the key elements. And we already discussed polarization, and often the big players are sometimes a bit criticized for their strong market position. But actually, you are working with smaller businesses as well. So maybe what's your view on giving exposure, working together with SMEs and providing them with concrete support?
Great, thank you for the question. Yes, at Booking.com, we do put a lot of emphasis into supporting SMEs, and largely a lot of our particularly homes properties or short-term rental, vacation rentals are run by small, medium-sized enterprises, people that are setting out on their own, buying properties and using these as their own business. With Booking, we allow a platform where a lot of these AI tools, as was discussed by some of the others, is already built into some of our systems. So whether that be the payment fraud detection, so allowing SMEs to already have this built in where they have this security and payments to avoid some of these issues. As well as this getting more exposure. So obviously Booking as a platform provides ranking, personalization, search features that allows travelers to find the bookings that they're looking for. And as a platform, we allow the opportunity to highlight these hidden gems that may not be more accessible or discoverable online.
Okay, thanks a lot. And we have also many different segments around the table here. And Daniel, you were talking about the transportation sector as well. And later on, also colleagues from you are on aviation, but also for transportation. You mentioned that digital transformation in this particular sector in transportation has been slower than in others compared to aviation. And I think the airlines are quite good, and we have a lot of travel tech companies. But what are the issues behind the slow AI adoption in the transportation segment?
Compared with the ride-hailing service, actually taxi company does not have any system. That's the reason why the platform company have a technology called independent driver. But tourism transportation company, they are business operator. They are most of them small, medium size, like 20 cars to 50 cars. But they do not have enough budget for develop their own software. So there's the, and then those transportation companies is not dealing with B2C. They are usually work with like a corporate business, such as travel agency or meeting an event or corporate traveler. So there's the corporate travel market is not called reservation by the passenger. It's called by arranger. When bus company work with the travel agency, they do not talk with travel traveler. They work with like a travel operator. That means too many participate, arrangers, and then dispatch, and then transportation company never say no. The hotel has an inventory, but transportation company never say no. I can do it, even though they don't have any car. But I can do it. Then they connect to another supplier and provide it. That means too many steps, too many participate. That's really too complicated. It's not a simple driving A to B. The hailing service is just a short distance A to B on the moving transportation. That's the reason why the ground transportation in tourism industry is too complicated, and then that's the reason why they cannot update it for the digitalization. Now we are working on a digital solution, then we can connect to the AI.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for raising the issue of cooperation. I mean, the tourism sector builds upon cooperation. We have a very complex product, so we need to have the cooperation at any point in time of our tourism product when we develop, when we provide the experience. And I think also for Zadok Chin, you mentioned also cooperation, and probably as a travel tech startup, you need also cooperation with bigger players probably, and a kind of network in Korea. So if you could provide an example of how large companies may have cooperated in a very concrete case with SMEs and maybe also with your company. The mic, take the mic, yeah.
Well, first and foremost, when it comes to NUA, well, we believe that, of course, partnership is of the essence in the airspace. So we have been positioned ourselves as a system provider, which means that other travel agents, they can use our system, and then we have to work together. Now, in the initial phase, compared to the big companies, we targeted the small ones. But in fact, after we started offering the service, it's not just the SMEs that require our technology. But for instance, I showed you the case with Uri Card, and these large companies also need to scale their technology up or their service up, but then they do not have the right technology, which is why they require technology providers like us, and we started building business cases with them. And based on this data, we want to make sure that they come to the travel space, and at the same time we can jointly develop products. So that would be a convergence between the different companies. And when it comes to Uri Card, they also target the premium card customers, and we have tailored some of the products for those customers as well. So those would be some of the collaboration cases.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Translation also works perfectly, thanks to the colleagues. And one point that all of you mentioned was data. Data infrastructure, data integration, also across borders. And we received one question from the audience online from Svetlana. So the question is, what do you see as immediate actions to enable data integration in the sector that operates outside of national boundaries and standards? Anyone who likes to jump in, I think. Kelly, if you'd like to start first, yeah.
Sure. Yes. So from our perspective at Booking.com, and also just championing some of the great work that's been done multilaterally and through international cooperation, I think the concept that I'm familiar with in Japan is a concept called data free flows with trust, which was initiated by former Prime Minister Abe. So this concept is kind of having trust among different partners to share information, share data in a safe and secure way. So obviously, cybersecurity, security of data is of utmost importance. At Booking.com, we put a lot of emphasis and are working hardly on anonymizing data. So especially with the EU, the GDPR, privacy and personal data is protected very stringently. And so we aim to anonymize our data to be leveraged for kind of different use cases. So I believe kind of this accessibility, the liberation of data, that will be a key to progress moving forward.
Anything that you'd like to add? Josh?
Very briefly, some of the companies that I've seen that have been established in response to the changes in AI relate to customer data that then they can interpret to develop new products. And so there's a few companies now that are trying to allow people to share their own data in a safe and secure way to give any company access to their own personalized insights, but with some certain controls. So I'm thinking about a company called Legends that allows you to take all your social media data and then allow that to be passported to any company, but at your approval. It's not fully there yet, but it's really, I think the ambition there is there's a lot of companies that don't have enough customer data to be able to then better target and utilize these AI tools. So there's some interesting work there.
Okay, thanks a lot. And also I'd like to move on with another questions from the audience. Marco, oh yes, please jump in.
No, sorry, screen. Just to have a very quick jab at this question as well from Svetlana, which I think it's a core one, it's a very important one. Indeed, when we say about the access to AI tools, of course, we always say that it's a matter of access to finance, to skill, and it's a matter of access to data. And indeed, the point on access to data and how to integrate them, especially in industry, as in the question it was very correctly, it's especially for industries that touch clients as well as to data that come from different from different countries across the world. This makes it often a bit of a daunting task, because then for businesses operating in multiple countries, maybe they can be more sure of a regulation in one country with respect to another. So they might be also, again, especially in tourism businesses, if they are organizing, I think of a tourism operator that is using data of clients from one country that is not its own, going to a third country that is not its own. So navigating this and how data can be used in a safe way that also respects regulation in all these different all these different regulatory areas can be quite challenging. And in this sense, I do a bit of self-promotion, meaning that in this sense, the OECD and our type of international organization, we try to play a role there, meaning that you see that the OECD have published the OECD AI principles. So we have tried to create some international standards on indeed safe, responsible, and accessible data both for businesses and for private citizens, so that different administrations and national governments around the world can have some points of reference to say, okay, these are the key things that we can do in order to make it possible for businesses both to be safe in how they use this and also to be able to operate across borders within the international community. So this is something that I think it's a very important topic to refer to, and again, the OECD tries to have a role in that. Thank you, Hannes.
Thank you, Marco. Time is running fast, so we need to wrap up slowly, but I also like to refer to one additional question that has been raised online. So what is the role of government also to support businesses? And maybe we can go for a short closing statement, and also to ask you if you could choose a central element, one key element to support businesses. What would it be then? Would it be finance? Would it be training? So in a very complex environment, we heard a lot so far. So yeah, I don't know. Is, do you mind going first as a thought starter, also reflecting this discussion? Sure. What's your final advice on which support is needed to enhance the uptake?
Sure. If it's okay, I would like to address perhaps the first question,
yes,
implication on AI and management capabilities. So we've been looking into ways we see AI's role in improving the capabilities of businesses in terms of future thinking or strategic foresight, basically, to improve their resilience. And so in terms of, for example, imagining scenarios for futures, I know in very uncertain times, sometimes our imagination is sort of limited because of our past experiences and so, and sometimes allowing modeling different futures would perhaps help in imagining different scenarios for the future and to be more innovative and to be more resilient. So that's perhaps one aspect to respond to the first question. In terms of what governments can do to support responsible uptake of AI, I think obviously, we talk a lot about training and finances and access to access to platforms and tools, but also I think one of the key areas is really to create opportunities for collaboration across different businesses, and I think that's key. So sharing resources and also good practices with each other. So I think finance, training, but also the ability to perhaps facilitate that collaboration across different businesses.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Eve. Thanks. Kelly, any specific support?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot to get into. It's a loaded question, but yes, I think what we're doing today is a good example of what where the partnerships can really thrive, is kind of bringing academia, the public sector, the private sector together to have shared dialogue on what the issues are, what the challenges are, and to build out kind of solutions to that. I think continuing this kind of partnership, this triple helix, if you will, finding opportunities to create kind of public and private partnerships to address some of these shared issues, whether it be those that we can agree on, such as cybersecurity or international standards or utilization of big data. These are quite complex issues that require inputs from various actors. And I guess just to address the second point on advice for businesses, I would just say, just try it. Just try to use these new tools, ChatGPT, whether you're dealing with a customer issue or in a multilingual context. Try it to proofread your message or your sales or promo, or ask it for advice. I think there's simple ways to play with these tools, and the more that you familiarize yourself with them, the better positioned you are to understand their capabilities.
Thank you. Daniel, any specific support that you wish to receive also as a company being active in this field?
Yeah, actually, in my industry field, which is transportation field, is a little bit complicated because most of the transportation company under the control transport division, but even though who work for the travel industry, but they cannot connect with any travel industry like a charter bus company or shoppers company. They should talk to with like a transport company, so mixed with like a taxi company or the bus or subway, whatever. That means that those kind of public transport division, they do not want to make open mind. I mean, travel industry, they are quite open mind. They want to try to everything. So actually, tourism industry is the most important key service player, which is transportation now, because everybody moving to A to B and next place. So I have some favor to our government for the transportation division and our travel division. Travel division should be thinking about the transportation service. What if the first time the Uber, when they come to Korea, when they talk to the travel division, it could be something or another happen. For the foreign people who come to Korea, it's going to be convenient service for the hailing service. Then should be something seamlessly working at the Uber, but they talk to the taxi division, so they fight about the life transportation. So for those kind of transportation company, very small, medium company, they cannot fight with like platform company. So the government want to just try to give it to some example and then give us some opportunity using using and try to digital solution, then there could be change and then connect to the AI.
Okay, yeah, thank you. The whole of government approach, travel, tourism, culture, we need to discuss all together. Sadok Chin, is there a specific kind of support you need as a AI travel startup?
First of all, AI technology is changing fast. As a system provider, we need to understand AI, so we want to participate in the AI government R&D. But as an individual company, it is difficult to participate on our own or do it on our own. So I hope that the government will have many R&D projects that we can participate in. And second, we need a lot of data. And those data, again, it is difficult to control by a single company or acquire by a single company. I hope that the government or public sector could collect continuously the data and prepare a system so that we can share those data. And as a company which deal with this sector, as an independent company for OTA, big OTA, they have their own system. They have invested a lot already. And the digital gap is widening. But for SMEs or accommodation companies who are really small, then it is difficult for us to have digitalize our services. It's difficult to get to the information, but the money is difficult to get, and investment is a hard thing to solve. So in order to have digital transformation or so, then the government will have to support in this so that the ecosystem can grow healthily and many participants could participate in this market and give the benefits to the customer. So ecosystem-wise, we need support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Josh, with a short answer? Yeah.
Yes, I'll keep it short and refer to my answer before,
Yeah.
which is that you need to be able to demonstrate that your fellow businesses are already starting and you can see benefits already, and then people are more likely to utilize it. And then finally, I just really agreed with the final answer as well. I think for technology companies, access to data becomes critical, especially in AI, where proprietary data becomes the most important signal of being a successful new travel tech company.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for our speakers. Yeah, we heard many different aspects in the discussion, from East about the synergies, driving innovation, human AI teaming, also Kelly on big OTA, but also the link to the SMEs. We discussed the specific requirements of tourism segments like transportation, also highlighting the whole of government approach, which is important for tourism. The data issue with Sadok Chin, and also Josh and also Marco, I think, promoting networks, travel tech networks, promoting the digital uptake of SMEs. So I think a very interesting panel discussion. Thanks to all of you for your interventions, for your discussions, and thanks for your questions. And yeah, warm round of applause for our panel speakers. And with this, back to Deborah.
Thank you, Hannes. Thank you, panelists, as well, for a very informative panel discussion today. So we are running a little bit late. We're behind schedule, but we will try to keep everything on time. So we will have a short lunch. We'll take a short lunch, and we'll be back at 2 p.m. Korea time here in the hall.